am a 20-year retiree from Majestic, first having been brought in 1986 under the auspices of the Committee of the Majority, and specifically working for the Majestic 12, assigned to Project Aquarius. I suppose I'm more known for meeting a J-Rod and working at S4.
What's up, guys? This is Mike Beavers from The Theory, and you are listening to Alien Strand Podcast, the dopest UFO alien podcast out there. And if you want to find out about me, just go on YouTube and search UFOs over UFO or The Theory with Mike Beavers. Stay tuned, guys.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this episode of Alien Strand Podcast. I'm your host, Don Ledesma. And welcome to today's show. Man, it has been a while since I have not gone on audio one only, right? I'm always doing the video ones. I know sometimes it can get kind of weirded out because it's like you're imagining what I'm showing you on the screens and everything like that. But today, it's just a podcast just for audio today, all right? So you don't have to worry about that for tonight or, you know, just I can kind of just give you some information as it's coming through, right? And the reason I just threw this out because, you know, I just ate too many coffee beans, man. I ate those damn mocha beans, and I'm fired up with a lot of electricity right now. And I don't know how to go back to sleep right now. I can't, man. So anyway, but thank you guys for sticking around and listening to Alien Strand Podcast. I hope you guys been catching all the live and audio and the video podcasts. You catch us on Rumble, YouTube, Twitch, X, Getter, Rumble. I mean, everywhere, man. We're everywhere. And, you know, Facebook as well. You know, those guys, you know, they're still giving me a lot of crap. I don't know why. They're giving me and a bunch of groups a lot of crap. And because they're saying, now they think the AI is starting to say the UFOs and the extraterrestrial activity is not real. What? You mean it's not real? You know, all we do is give the disclosure as it comes out, especially on ASDP, Alien Strand Disclosure Project. Go find us there as well. You know, where we have a website as well, and you can go to alienstrand.com, and it'll take you to Alien Strand Disclosure Project there. You can visit all of our friends there, you know, Anibal, Chris, Danielle. You can visit Mighty Soul. You can, you know, anybody, David Aliff, everybody that's out there that's part of Alien Strand Disclosure Project. They are all willing to take your reports or whatever comes in different states, okay? So we are all over the United States, right? And then we are out on Australia. We're in Ireland right now. Scotland. And we are out in the UK as well. So, and we do have, I think, one person out in Africa as well, all right? So, if you guys can, you know, if you have, go to those websites and go check out those pictures and the people that are out there and you know, just kind of give them your information if you've seen something or something you can't understand. Now, if you want to be on the show, hey, 361-245-8000, 361-245-8000. That's how you get on this show, man. You know, you just give me a holler or throw me a text on there. You want to be on the show, you got a story, anything about aliens, UFOs, all that good stuff, you know, Bigfoot, you know, Skinwalker, all that good stuff out there. You know, we were just talking a little earlier about it, so it's kind of fresh in my mind. But, you know, we're trying to get all this information going. Now, if you guys know or you don't know already, we have the middle part 1 is out there. The middle part 2 is on Amazon Prime. Now the middle part 3 will be out probably in about a week and a half from now, right? So be looking out for that on Amazon Prime. That film is set to be released here pretty soon in a couple of weeks or a week. And it'll be there. So if you haven't watched the middle 2, go check it out on Amazon Prime. And I'm sure you guys will enjoy it. We've been getting a lot of wonderful reviews on that. And if you watch that, give me a thumbs up at the end of the film on Amazon. And I think that's about the only time that you can do that is on at the end of the film. And then go to your app and then give us a review if you want. That we really appreciate that. We got about 9 of them already. So, hey, I know it's a little low number, but they're all 4 stars, 5 stars all the way across, which makes it a great film for you guys to watch, documentary. Okay, so thank you guys for that. Part 3, same thing. And then I'm working on part 4 as we speak today. All right. So, speaking of that, so since part 4 is going to be the last of the middle series, that's going to be the end of it. But we have something coming around the horizon, right? There's another one for 2025. All right, that's going to have a lot of people involved as well. Terry Lynch, Chris Hamill again. This time we're going to have Michael Beavers involved in that one. We have Danielle. We're going to have let's see who else. A lot of people going to be involved, in the film and the production and another documentary. This one's going to be a great one. If you don't know what it is, well, if you go to our Patreon, I just released it on Patreon, what the name of the title is. So if you check it out, go to our Patreon, go look for alienstrand.com. You can register, you can go get there for free, or you can pay the $5 one if you want. It's okay. You can do the free one too. But that last podcast, I showed the poster and I gave all the ideas. So you guys want to go to Patreon, go check that out, and you'll be able to see all the information there on that film as it's going to be filmed, and everything I'm sure it's going to be all done in 2025. So get ready for that. All right. That's going to be an amazing thing to do. And I can't wait to get started on that, but I still have to finish 4. Hey, it is what it is. So, today was a little bit about UFO chatter, right? I mean, there's a lot of things going on out there in the UFO world, that, we just don't get it. We understand sometimes, I do talk to a lot of people that are involved with UFOs and catching crafts on their phones or whatever they're getting it on, right, on their video cameras at home. And I had a guest a few weeks ago, Jessica. There was a lot of video footage of her as she sleeps with her family. These orbs that come around them, right? What are these things? And we try to explain them the best we can, and I show them in the videos, what these things could possibly be, right? And we tend to mix ufology and the paranormal world together because they kind of coincide. They do. And because the way that things are happening is almost like a mirrored effect, right? Like when an extraterrestrial shows itself, it'll come to at night, right? Or in a almost like in a spiritual form in a way where you can't see these things, right? Because they do know how to hide. They do know how to cloak themselves very well, right? And we've seen it. I've shown you videos of how these things do this, how they blend in with the forest, right? In the film, the middle part 2, you actually see one of these things blend in with the forest, almost like the movie The Predator. You see it there, but it's moving around. So, and I believe that the skin, or maybe the clothes that these things have on at times, because they do say that when they capture these things, and there's videos and all kinds of statements out there that they have these suits on, like they are pressed into their skin somehow, or almost like a 3D. How it's infused on them to, it looks like it's part of their skin, right? I mean, and what does that, and why? And I think that maybe that they use that suit in a sense to kind of make itself blend, maybe on some, not all, but some extraterrestrials, that they can blend in with the darkness or the trees or the sky or whatever it is, even if it's during the day. Just like we see in ghosts. Ghosts have these apparitional looks to them, to where you can see right through them, right? And you're able to kind of sometimes make you can see a visual characteristic of whatever it is, right? And make out if it's a boy, a child, or a female, or a man, or whatever they're wearing. It's kind of hard to see with the naked eye. And most of the times you know that we're always going to catch these ghost, spiritual, paranormal things with our cameras, because cameras do have a different spectrum of light that it picks up, right? Which our eyes can't, right? And that's what we have to understand. Now, what makes this different, in my opinion, is that these extraterrestrials are mixed to more of a biological tissue, right? To where they can mask themselves out, let's just say it that way in our terminology today, but to where they become invisible, they mask themselves out, right? But they're still in a solid biological form. In other words, skin, tissue, blood, meat, maybe a heart, anything that makes them move, right? So, and that's the difference between the extraterrestrial and the paranormal or the ghost, right? Because we know ghosts don't have that. It doesn't play that factor, right? So we know whatever this thing is as an extraterrestrial is a biological entity. That's why they called it that, because they knew it had flesh, right? Even back in the day, when the Roswell crash, and they had the EBE and all that thing that came with it, right? So, and they became friends with this extraterrestrial, and because the extraterrestrial started giving them a lot of information about, everything they wanted to know about technology, in return that they would send him home. Unfortunately, he didn't make it home, right? So, which we all know the story of that, of that EBE. And that's what kind of gets us into that situation to where, how do we think of these extraterrestrials or UFOs or whatever they are, and then they manifest themselves in our homes, right? And why? Why do they do that? And why do they extract sperm? They extract eggs and everything from a human body, for their own benefit, right? It's their agenda. That's what I put on the description today, that I'm talking about the extraterrestrial agenda, what they have. It is that they're, they can't duplicate themselves, right? There is we know this, that there is no sexual organs that they do have now. So I believe that the way that they do it is they do it the way we started doing it. When a woman couldn't give birth to a child, right? They would just put it all together and make and get the sperm or the woman and I mean the sperm from the male and the egg from the female, and they would just make a child that way or infuse it into another woman because one woman couldn't have babies, right? So what if these things are basically doing the same thing because they can't? There's no way of them having their kind of babies. And their species is dying out. And I've talked about this before, right? This is why this is one of their agendas, is to grab as much eggs from a fertile person if they can, or anything that has good DNA, right? Because they want that. That's why they pick special people to do that to. Male and female, all right? So let's just put it that way, because the males do get abducted as well. Same way. I had a friend, I can't say his name right now because I don't think he's ready for it, but he texted me this morning, and he says, "Hey Donald," he goes, "I don't know what happened, man, but I woke up I went to bed early, and he says I woke up about 3:45 in the morning, because I had to go urinate, right? No, I'm sorry, it was 12:50. He said it was 12:54. Yeah, 12:54. And he says I had to go urinate. So when I went back to sleep, I slept for about 3 or 4 hours. I know I did. He goes, when I woke up again, my clock said 12:54 still. And I'm talking the digital clock on his phone, right? So what happened to him in that moment? He is unsure of what had happened to him. That's the first thing he texted me this morning when he woke up, right? And what does that? I I told him, I said, man, it seems to me like you were stuck in a time lapse or something, that where like if you were frozen in time, but time didn't go forward or backwards. It stopped for you as you went to the bathroom. And I told him, you sure you weren't dreaming? He goes, no, man, I was awake. I was wide awake, mind you. So we're still scratching our heads on that one, because he has amazing UFO activity around his area, really close to him, every day. And how does he, explain that to anybody? He couldn't. That's why he texted me this morning and let me know exactly what had happened to him, because he had never experienced anything like that before. And that is the strangeness of what extraterrestrials do, right? Than something paranormal. Paranormal doesn't do that. Paranormal will not stop time. And whatever these things are, they have a way to control it. And another friend of mine told me, I talked to Don Rogers, I was on one of his podcasts, and he says, he thinks of it like this way, like that they're able to manipulate time, and in other words, you're like let's just say like a deck of cards, right? And let's say somebody tells you, pull this card out of the deck. They see it and they put it back in the deck. But remember, they have to put you back in that exact same slot that they pulled you out from, right? If they put you in a different spot, it changes the time and it messes up your chromosomes in your body to where you're thrown off, you're in bad moods, things like that. He said it happened to him because he had been abducted once before, right? He says, they didn't put me back in that same slot. They messed up. He said, it took me almost 2 weeks to get back to my normal self. And I was like, wow. I never thought about it that way. And that is a possibility of the time sequences and the changes that these things possibly do to people, right? And it's kind of hard to explain this to you here, but I'm doing the best I can to kind of give you the visual of exactly what's happening with my voice, right? To just imagine what these people are going through every day. This is exactly what happens to them every single day, or maybe once a week, once a month. And that's what these films are for, to let you know what happens to ordinary people as these things happen, right? And what happens to people that, have had visual encounters in the past, right? And they don't know what had happened. Like, there's this case in 1972 out in, in Minnesota. Where this family comes across 3 discs in the sky. So this happened about August. Around 1972, right? And this gentleman, he was with his family. And he says, we were returning from vacation in the United States on Route 59. He says, about 10 o'clock p.m. when we observed a UFO The speed at which I was driving, it was between 50 and 60 miles per hour. He says we were between Thief River Falls, Minnesota, and Tulsi, Canada. Then he says, I noticed a very bright light in the sky to my right. Then I mentioned it to my wife, who remarked that she said it was a light from a tower or something of that nature. She wasn't sure, though. He says she wasn't too interested, as she was suffering from heavy summer cold, so she wasn't feeling very well. She says, I did not bother about the light after that. Just continued to drive to this with our station wagon and listen to the radio. Said my 4 children were asleep in the back seat. Says after that, of 10 minutes of driving, I looked at my wrist. I was looking at my watch and I noticed it was about 10 p.m. I again casually looked to my right. He says the bright light was still with us, only much closer now, and it started matching the speed of the wagon. Then he says, my wife, also watching it now, she was interested. We were discussing the object when it suddenly zoomed straight towards us to the right side of the wagon. It lit up the inside of the car brighter than daylight, and the children woke up. Our youngest child was 10 at the time. He asked me if that was an aircraft. I said it looked like a flying saucer, which I read about. To which the son replied, oh, good, I always wanted to see one. I told my youngest Wayne to use the flashlight and flash 4 times, short flashes. And immediately, the object flashed back 4 times, short flashes. I must explain the object completely extinguished all lights 4 times. My wife then took the flashlight and sent a series of long flashes and short ones immediately thereafter. The object did the exactly same thing, this time coming even closer to the car. At this time, the car radio started to act up. The engine began to cough and sputter. Mr. H said that he personally didn't observe the object at this time. He was having much difficulty keeping the engine running as the car was losing speed. Meanwhile, the interior of the car got very hot and the engine quit completely. It says, I pulled it to the highway shoulder. With the last bit of momentum, I stopped. My children by this time were scared. I might add, my wife was too frightened. I had mixed feelings. I was scared. But I also was very interested. When I got out of the car, the UFO directly overhead, it was very bright. I felt kind of prickly sensation all over my body and it smelled like electric shocks. I lifted the hood off the wagon and told my wife to try to start the car. What happened was the engine would turn over, but sparks would jump from the plug lead straight across the coil and the metal side of the car, then back. He says, I am a master mechanic and I believe I've never seen anything like that before. I looked down the highway and I saw lights of an upcoming vehicle. I hoped that we could get help from them as the lights are coming to the car and got nearer and nearer. The UFO moved away. at such a speed it would be impossible to estimate or even come anywhere near it. I waved to the passing car. He did not stop. My wife tried to start the car again. Immediately, it started. I got into the driver's seat. Like a flash, we moved on. The UFO at this time was just a speck in the sky as we moved. And it came again, not as close this time. My car kept going. My wife flashed out the flashlight at the object again, and we received the same signal back. The UFO seemed much safer distance now, so I stopped the car to get a better look at it. Says my wife and the children at this point saw 3 smaller discs leave the large disc. One went north, the other went south, and the third went east. When the UFO left us, it gave us sort of a wobble, then left at incredible speed, diminishing to nothing perhaps within a couple of seconds. In conclusion, Mr. Hall states, we watched the object for 2 hours. We weren't harmed in any way. The object just stayed still in the sky. I must describe my feelings as I stood there looking at the magnificent machine that I'm not sure that must have traveled from another world, or who knows how far. I must make it a point that after we were again on our way, my wife, and most of the time, was very quiet. Suddenly said that her cold was completely gone and she felt good. That was case 347. Now, we just heard an incredible story from 1972 of August. And this is things that happen to people every day, right? To where people don't understand exactly what they're seeing. Now, in that story, his wife was feeling ill, sick. As the whole thing unfolded, 2 hours later, she was no longer sick anymore. I mean, what happened? Or how did it happen to where she wasn't sick anymore after that? Now, I don't know if maybe they had radiation poisoning afterwards or anything like that, because we've known of many extraterrestrial stories, UFO craft stories, to where when they go over the car, most of the time the people do get ill with radiation sickness. They get burns. They have vomiting, nausea. But this was a totally opposite. So, are we looking at a different kind of technology that was not able to make the human sick in the vehicle? That's a possibility. And this is why we always talk about there's many, many different extraterrestrials out there, not just the ones that we talk about, that the grays, of course, we know there's very many variations of the gray hybrid. And they take on many shapes and forms, colors, agendas. We know there's some that live in the earth. We know there's insectoid, reptiles, which they call the reptilian. And the strangeness is that why they can't walk among us today. Well, it's because they are a totally different biological creature than us, right? They're going to look totally different. Nothing that we've ever seen before. In other words, people will lose their minds, right? Everything will go out the door. Politics, religion, anything that goes along with it, because it's hard for people to fathom exactly what's going on in front of them when it's something different and it's not in their books, right? A total different creation of a creature that we've been studying now since the 1940s. Literally, as ufologists, since the 1940s. It's been happening before. We know that. But nobody ever studied these things to know exactly what they're doing, what their agenda is. You know, that they were taking eggs, or they would make these scoop marks or marks on people to where they look like bruises. Some people have just sent me some that it looks like a bruise. Pictures. 3 dots, like as big as let's just say maybe a quarter, in a triangular pattern. There are 3 bruises that happens to people when this happens to you. These things come when you are not awake. You're asleep. You're in a different subconscious state of mind. I think they have a little bit more control over that in that state of mind, to where they can do whatever they need to do, take you, bring you back, or do what they have to do there, right? Without you even noticing. The memories are wiped away because there is really not one if you're in a subconscious state of mind. So these are the encounters that most people, don't get to talk about. You only get to read about these things later. Now, if you're new to ufology, this is a great way to learn about ufology, right? Is like in a podcast such as this, because I'm giving you the case, exactly what happened to these people. I'm giving you the story word for word. And then you can make your own conclusions if you've seen this or experienced this yourself, right? And that's what these films are for as well, right? These documentaries that we have. So, and there's even backlash, right? There was a case book number 11 to where this was in 1976, September 11th, by the way. The guy's name was Herbert Hopkins. Not Bud, but Herbert. He was using his skills. He's a doctor, as for a hypnotist, and would assist UFO researchers to get memories from UFO witnesses, right? He was said that he got a lot of details that had been lost from their conscious memories, right? What I was just talking about. He was helping a witness, his name was David Stevens, who had seen a UFO in bizarre circumstances on on September 11th. And then Hopkins' wife and the children were going out that evening when he got a call from a man saying that he was the vice president to New Jersey's UFO research organization. This man said he was in the area. He dropped by to discuss with Mr. Stevens' case, and Mr. Hopkins agreed, right? He goes, all right, well, this is another UFO researcher. Bring him on in. Let's see what maybe he's got something new. He says just moments the man arrived. He was dressed in this black suit with sharply creased trousers, black hat, black shoes, black tie, gray gloves, a white shirt. Said the man asked if he could sit him down. The man removed his hat to reveal that he was totally bald. He said his face was very pale, whitish color, he says. He says they chatted for some time about UFOs in general, especially about the case that Hopkins was working on. He said the man spoke to him. It was very emotionless, very monotone, he says. It was odd. He said it was kind of odd because he was wearing lipstick that came off his glove when he brushed his lips on his fingertips. And suddenly he asked Hopkins for a coin. Hopkins gave him the coin. And for a great surprise, he says that the coin vanished from that man's hand, in his palm. He says that man explained that he could make a heart vanish from a human being within the human body, the same way he made that coin disappear. He ordered Hopkins to stop working on that case and to destroy all the files and information. Hopkins was terrified, so he agreed. He says the man began to slur some words. He stood up abruptly and announced, "My energy is running low. I must go." Walking stiffly, and apparently the man left the house. Went out of the driveway. Hopkins said he saw bright light, a bluish light. He said it had been the car's headlights. When Hopkins got home, he told his wife about the strange visitor. Inspected the driveway and found odd markings. He says, unlike those that are made by a car or motorcycle. Then Hopkins discovered that there is no such thing as a New Jersey UFO research organization, in which Hopkins was very worried about exactly what he just experienced and dropped that case immediately. This was around the same time frame that I just gave you on the story before. Now, what could have came about that story and why? Why did it happen to these people? Did they want them to keep it hush-hush? It's a possibility. But that was the way Big Brother and other things were handled back in the day. Could be for some folks as well today, but there's just too much disclosure out there now. Too much information. of what we're seeing up in the skies or what people are experiencing. But this is what us as human beings have to experience day to day. And that's why there's ufologists now out there helping others and helping others cope with these things that happen. There's organizations that you can report these UFO reports, anything you've seen in the sky, or even paranormal. There's many reporting agencies now. So the stigma of that, I believe, is done now to where you don't have to be afraid anymore. And as we keep going forward and moving forward, the truth will reveal itself eventually. And once we get the answers we're looking for, then maybe we can close those older books, but open new ones for new information, new technology, new disclosure. That's what it's about. Yep. All right, guys. Hope you guys enjoyed today's podcast as much as I have. It was my absolute pleasure giving you this information, a couple of these stories, which I really enjoyed talking about. I love disclosure, don't you? Yeah. Gets you thinking real deep, man. But if you like this podcast, please give me a thumbs up here on Spreaker. You'll see it on Spotify, all these places, iHeartRadio, Castbox, Deezer. You can even ask Alexa to play some Alien Strand podcast. Hey man, we're on 26 to 28 platforms of audio. Whatever your favorite podcast platform, I'm sure we're there. We're there on Patreon as well. So please go to our Patreon. Go sign up there for the free account, or pay the $5 subscription. We really appreciate it. It goes a long way to keep disclosure going, especially with Alien Strand Podcast. I really enjoyed today's stories, and I hope you guys got a lot of information out of it. Remember, you can always go down to where it says all my links. That'll give you every single link to social media, movies, books, everything like that that's on there. It's easier to find these all these informational sites. You can find alienstrand.com there, Let's Productions. You can find everything there on that link. It's just click on it. It says all my links. You'll find everything there for you. It'll put it on for your phone if you want it, or just check them out. Enjoy it, man. But until then, I hope you guys, like I said, enjoyed this one. If you want to be on the show, 361-245-8000. Again, 361-245-8000. Give me a call or send me a text message there. I'll be glad to get you up on the show. All right? Till then, you guys have yourselves a good day. Have yourselves a good evening. And have yourselves a good night.
Transfer for Dockside Media, and you're listening to Alien Strand Podcast with Donald Ledesma. For the dopest paranormal documentaries this side of the Milky Way, visit Dockside.media.com for links to all our films on major streaming platforms. Till next time, keep on keeping on.
about CE5 and extraterrestrial contact, download my new book, now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Apple, and 14 other platforms. Book authored by Donald Ledesma. CE5, Frequencies of Contact.